Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, January 26th, 2026. It's cold. It's cold. It's cold all across the U.S. It's cold here in Georgia. I know we should be tougher than we are, but we're not. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I dealt with cold as a teenager, and that was, I had no choice. And you adapt. You become used to the environment that you live in. And currently, well, I'll say this: I have lived in Georgia over 35 years now, probably closer to 38 years by this point. And when it gets cold in Georgia, it's brutal. It is very rough. It's a different kind of cold. Like I grew up in Pennsylvania, I could be out in cold weather in a couple of shirts and a sweatshirt, and I'd be fine. But when you get in the South, it's different. I'm telling you, I can't explain it, but it definitely is a biting cold. And it's currently here in Georgia, 26 degrees. It says it feels like 12 degrees, and that's probably pretty accurate. Now, overnight, tonight, it's going to get down to 16 degrees. That is brutal in Georgia. Let me just tell you, that is brutal. So, everybody knows, leave your tap running, keep water moving, because I have a well outside, and if you don't keep the water moving, that plumbing will freeze, and you'll have more problems later. So be proactive in that. We're also going to be experiencing next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, lows of 14 and 13. And then it'll start getting more back to normal. At least that's what they're predicting. So I can just tell you, it's rough. And I know it's rough across the country. We have people that are, there's people dying from storms and being out in the cold and different things like that. So you got to be proactive. You have to think ahead, plan ahead. I know growing up, like I said, in Pennsylvania, we would go places and we'd have extra clothes with us. We'd have snacks with us or whatever, just because you never knew if you were going to get stuck in a snowdrift somewhere, and who knows when somebody would be able to get you out of there. So everybody be cautious, be careful, don't do anything silly that could get you in trouble. So with that, I have not done a lot in the garage the last couple of days, honestly. I did do an Instagram post of the cross member here that I picked up from Stifler's with the intent of using that under the transmission of the Fangled car, the 6R80. Excuse me. And that is going to may have some potential problems. Nothing wrong with this at all. I recommend that piece. If you're going to be putting it in a Mustang and you have normal or standard suspension underneath it with nothing in the way, that piece is great. It's going to work out fine. The difficulty, as we know, with the TCI setup is they have that spider crossbar thing in the middle. And, whenever I'm looking at how to make things work or how to improvise, sometimes you get caught up with what you see and what you have on hand, and you don't think in different directions. And I'm guilty of that too. We all get caught in that mindset. This is what has to happen. So I started looking at it, and when I found this cross member, I thought, that's the answer. It's going to work perfect. Well, it won't work perfect. And the reason for that is the bracket system for the TCI crossbar is actually in the way of the mount point for the ends of this. It has flat plates that are supposed to bolt up against the floor supports. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, now what can I do? Well, one idea potentially is to modify that. Take the plate. Let me grab it so I can show you. It's designed to go one way. And there's a lot of geometry in this, the way this is shaped, the way the bars are welded on, or pieces are welded on. So this is intended with the name on it here. This is supposed to face to the back of the car, and that would put the bracket to the front. Well, that pushes this back into that area where you have the TCI setup. So a potential idea is to take this bracket off, turn it around, and put it back on this side of the bar. It won't hurt anything. It's well designed, and that would actually give the room that we need for this to fit. So that's a consideration. Another consideration is somebody had mentioned on my post about could I weld a bracket onto the TCI bar and make my own bracket. And that is a thought too. And I'm really rolling that around and trying to decide if it makes sense or not. Sometimes you can get away with attaching pieces to other pieces to create, in this case, a transmission mount. So I'm looking at that. Now I haven't committed, I haven't done any work to this bar other than getting it here. And I'm still very much leaning towards using that bar. But what I need to do and what I will do is once I've committed to setting the engine and the real engine and transmission in the car, that's going to give me a much better feel for what I'm able to get away with underneath. And I expressed that I've used the mock-up engine and transmission to help me determine like where I needed to cut the floor pan and that sort of thing. And that has been fantastic. That really has made a huge difference, even to the point of mounting the headers and all those other, the pieces together so we can see what's going on. And the beauty of that mock-up engine is you can look through it. It's not like the big plastic foam thing that they have where you can't see maybe what's in the way. This one you can actually look around it and kind of get around the edges of it and different things and see what's going on. So that's kind of where the project is at the moment. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more to do, but I want to make sure I can get as much accomplished with the mock-up system in there before I commit to setting the engine in place. And I think you all understand where I'm coming from with that. Then the next phase of the process, of course, is getting sheet metal work addressed. So once I get the engine and transmission set up in the car and make sure the angle's correct, get the transmission mount in place one way or another, then I'll have to work on the tin work on the inside of the car. I don't want to do any of that work until I know where the transmission is. Now, Bad Harry has been on here before, and he's shared with me information and pictures of his 68 Fastback, which I've shown it on here before. And we've talked over quite a few things, but he also talked about grinding off some of the excess metal off the transmission just to create a little more space. Like there's ears and there's in the back there's like a spine piece, and really it's all part of the casting. It's not going to change anything structurally. It was just where they make the mold, the casting mold. So there are things that can be eliminated from the transmission as well to help make more space and create some extra space. So once I get all that figured out and get into building the tunnel, then it'll be more about start taking everything back off and working on, the body work. Still needs some stuff done in the back and a few things like that. But then it'll be move on to trying to seal stuff up and primer and all those sorts of things. So you've seen how I do the work on these, and you know what the process is. But that's the current status of the Fastback. But again, I don't like being out in the cold, and it's hard to be out here whenever it's cold in here. Now I've had the heater running all day, and it's gotten up to about 60 degrees, and that's comfortable, but it's still kind of uncomfortable when it comes down to it. Just the cold air coming in. It's just the way it is. So that's my brief introduction to what's going on right now. I welcome anybody who's new to the Car Chat. If you have a question or a comment or a subject matter you want to bring up, by all means, I encourage you to do so. I try to talk about cars between 1955 and 1980-ish, and that's the focus for me. You probably saw the little car that I have on the thumbnail. That's the proposed sort of vision of the 63 Falcon that I have, and I have not started anything on that. You know, there's going to be a lot going on with that car at a future date. I did look at this engine that I have over here. This is a 289 that came with a 67 car. I had actually started to make a video on that engine, but I've determined the engine isn't usable, at least not for my purposes. So I'm going to have to go a different direction and come up with something else. So there's kind of the side things going on with the Falcon right now. Anyway, let's see who's here tonight, and we'll get started with our regular chat, and we'll go from there. So first in is Rick Stevenson, and Rick is my coffee guru, so he says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Rick. Welcome. Glad you're here. Next up is Rick Gain. Looking forward to some good car talk. Buried under a lot of snow in New Jersey. Not very happy right now. And he says, everybody give Barry a thumbs up. He definitely deserves it. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Yeah, you leave a thumbs up if you're on this live stream. Let YouTube know that it's active and that you're liking it. Dave Tyson. Good evening, all. Good evening, Dave. I saw your comment about my Facebook YouTube videos. I appreciate you. I do. I'm glad you're following along there as well. TJ Stang. Let's get our chat on. Good evening, Barry and everyone from East Dublin, Georgia. It's cold. It is cold. No doubt about it. Richard Vogel. Good evening, Barry. 13 inches of snow and frigid temps. Hopefully you have better weather. Well, we don't have snow, thankfully. And I was a little anxious about that. Well, by the way, I was anxious about that last night because we had, you saw the Patreon video where I had ice on metal surfaces outside, bumpers and stuff that I have laying around, had ice build up, and we had rain throughout the day. And, you know, whenever they're calling for the cold temperatures and you have rain accumulation, it's just bad news. But it through the night, it was weird. It seemed to get a little warmer through the night, and I think most of the rain dried off before the cold hit this morning. When I come out this morning, it was like 28, 29 degrees, and it's only been going down, you know, from there. So I was a little anxious about what was going to be out here, you know, this morning. Terry Keithley, good evening, Barry and everyone. Everyone and Barry, sorry. Please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Thank you to you, Terry, as well, and I hope Betty is doing okay. Travis, top 5 patron. Good evening, all. Good evening, sir. I see you have something else to talk about down below, so we're going to get to that. Vincent, greetings from New Hampshire, everyone. With temperatures at -9 and 2 feet of snow in our last storm, I'm looking forward to tonight's car talk. Vincent, I'm glad you're here. -9, that sounds like bourbon weather. Get out the warmer. Get out the the body warmer. Travis says, let's talk about Snert. Well, that wasn't what I was referring to whenever I said you had something going further down. Yes. Snert is my first YouTube video. I commented about it on Facebook. I've been on YouTube 17 years, technically. 17. And, you know, if you look, there's a little sign right up here that my daughter made for me that says Joe Daddy's Garage, something mechanic on duty since 2011. So what she's implying there is that's when I was really starting to make YouTube videos. The first video that I made was, you know, whenever YouTube was just getting started, really. There wasn't a lot of people putting stuff out there. And I made a goofy video with a character that I called Snert. Now, Travis, let me tell you the facts on Snert. I don't know if I came up with that name or if my dad did. Because somewhere from the 90s is a video on like an old VHS big camcorder of my dad doing his version of Snert. So using the hand thing, um, I don't know where it's at, but I remembered him doing that, and I thought it was pretty funny. So um, I've done that, and there's actually a second snert video. Actually, there's three. But look at my crooked finger. That finger is getting worse. Um, there's three snert videos. The second one is and third one are probably private because I was kind of embarrassed by the first one being out there, and so I did not release the second and third one. But because I know the second one's private, and that one was Snert kills a pumpkin. And the other one, I think I did it. I don't know if I have it on YouTube or not. I did one where um, my son was doing something and Snert was supervising. But yeah, those are the early days of YouTube and just experimenting at that point. Steve Reed, hello Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's staying warm. We got 4 inches of snow and single digits in temp. Everybody needs to give Barry a thumbs up. Thank you, Steve. And you're up in Kentucky, so yeah, I know it's cold up there. Still have family living up there. Travis says no snow in Utah. Got my rare 68 coupe to the house. Now to finish my 6970 fastback and start the 68. Yeah, I think I if I remember, you did say or mention something to me about that 68, and you may have to refresh me or tell us what it is. Was it one of those rainbow colors cars? Is that right? Am I wrong? Let me know. But I'm glad you got it. George Crackle. Hi, Barry and the gang from a blistering hot 12 degrees southeast Michigan. That's not bad. That's not bad for Michigan, I must say. Robert, the Infernal Craftsman, evening all, still have 2 inches of frozen sleet on the ground here. Yeah, and that's in Texas. That's not cool. Because what happens, Robert lives obviously west of us, and his weather shows up a couple days later. And I'm hoping we don't end up with sleet like that. Jiggy says, greetings to South Atlanta, where the feels like temperature is 13 degrees, but I wouldn't know. It's so cold I can't feel my fingers. Yes, thank you, Jiggy. Also known as Clay. David, the bowler hat guy. Hello, all. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, sir. Glad you're here. I know you're up in the Virginia area, and I'm sure you've got plenty of cold weather up there. Nandu, hi, Barry and everyone. Hope you're all doing well and staying warm. Yes. And I will say this. I have to commend my wife. She's a really, really, really good cook. She keeps me fed. And she has made chili the last week, and she made white chicken chili the other day. Can't complain. She makes some really good food, and I like to eat. So we've been enjoying chili in this cold weather, which is really nice. Troy, Justin, good evening. I hope everyone on the East Coast are staying warm. It's going to drop to 22 degrees tonight in coastal Georgia. I'm not happy about that. No, I'm not. It's supposed to be 17 here shortly. I'm not happy either. Welcome, Troy. Nandu says, was good to see the engine mock-up. Yes, I agree. And I'm really glad that I'm using that setup. I am. If you see me bouncing, I got my legs moving because I'm generating some heat. Roger, Hindsight 6-7, greetings from next door. I'm finally back. Welcome, Raj. Roger was out at the Chili Bowl event, and I don't know how the weather was there. It couldn't have been much better, but glad you're back, Raj. Dave Conville, good evening all. Evening, Dave, up in New Jersey. Clay, Jiggy, what's the best way to remove welded-in subframe connectors? Plasma cutter, I want to limit damage to the connectors, not the frame in this case. That's a good question. I should have looked at those a little harder when I was over there. So, I don't know what you've done as far as how the subframe can, let me close this down. How far if the subframe connector is inside of the floor support, is it only inside and welded there, or is it welded to the floor pan? And then how is it attached further back? Plasma cutter obviously does wonders on removing metal. Anymore, what I tend to do is break out the 4.5-inch grinder with a cutoff wheel. Because while the plasma cutter does a great job, it also, well, for one, it creates sparks and bad gases. It really does. Stuff you don't want to breathe. Granted, the cutoff wheel creates a lot of dust in the air, so you don't want to breathe that either. But I feel like unless you're using, say, a guide of some sort to keep the plasma cutter straight, you end up with, a hand held or hand cut. So it depends on what your overall situation is. 4.5-inch grinder, you could just cut off the floor support and bring it out as an assembly and then take it apart on the bench or whatever. I don't know if there's another easy way to do it. Plasma cutter, of course, like I said, that'll make short work of just about anything. So, good question. Hope that helps. Troy Dustin, I bought a kerosene heater for my garage, and I'm glad I did. That heats that up fast. I couldn't find the light you bought at Lowe's. Is that where you got it? No, it was at Home Depot. That light was at Home Depot. Apparently, I think somebody said Harbor Freight has a version like that. I don't know. But I got mine at Home Depot. And I think somebody commented they found one on TikTok or something that was basically the same price. But Home Depot is where I got that light. And yes, the kerosene heater, I'll tell you, here's the thing. I grew up, as I said, in Pennsylvania, in an old farmhouse. And, I know I've posted pictures of this before. But grew up in this old farmhouse, as seen here. I don't know if it'll do it. There it is. So that's the tank. But that was the farmhouse that I grew up in. You look at the size of those windows. And this house was built either in the late 1800s or early 1900s. It had a chimney on the end of it. It had a coal furnace in there. And that house was never warm. I mean, it was, the coal furnace made tremendous heat. And it would keep the kitchen and the lower floor warm. But there was no way to get the heat to the upstairs. There were no registers, there were no holes, nothing. And so the heat had to work its way up to the ceiling and hopefully work its way through the floor to get to the upstairs. So it was forever cold in the winter in that house. And my dad had kerosene heaters. I think we had 1, 2, 3. We had at least 3 kerosene heaters going while we had the coal furnace going, because it just, the ducting wasn't there. So yeah, the kerosene heaters, they really do make a lot of heat. And, some people will say they generate maybe fumes or something. I never had a problem with it. They seem to burn really clean and don't leave any soot or anything behind. But I do have a kerosene heater that I keep as a standby. Like I've used it on occasion if I needed to heat up the paint booth. I'll fire that up and just generate a lot of heat in there and then take it out and do some paint work and then come back in with it and let it heat stuff up. But otherwise, I keep it as more of an emergency type thing for the house in case we lose power. And it has paid for itself. Really great thing to have as a backup. Let me go back up here. Hold on. Yeah, that was a kerosene heater. Okay. Bob Shoemaker, evening all from 8 inches snowed in Oklahoma. Glad to hear, Bob. I don't want any snow. My family has gotten a bunch of snow up in Pennsylvania. It's a mess. There's a lot of snow up there. Rick says Stacy David used TCI to put a Boss 429 in a 67 Cougar on TV. Everything was a perfect fit. I call BS on that one. I would agree. They probably did a complete mock-up of that prior to assembly, did any fine tuning they needed to do. And that's why whenever I'm doing stuff, I don't make it all fit and then show you how hey, look, it goes together. I want to show everybody the details and problems that you may run into. So while it's a TV show, and they're only worried about making stuff that people can watch, keep them entertained. I'm past that point. I try to make sure everybody understands there's more to it than what you see on TV. That's a good comment, Rick. Steve's Money Pit. Hello from the Philippines. Thumbs up for Barry. I'm in meeting. We'll have to listen later. Okay. Well, welcome, Steve. Once again. I know he travels to the Philippines and he lives here somewhere in a cold state when he's here in the U.S. Rick says, if I can't sell my dad's 05 4.0 Mustang, I may consider a Coyote swap. People are doing it. Yeah, it's there. All the probably be a much simpler swap than anything else. He says, if I do, I may try to break the blind man speed record held now by Dan Parker. Okay. I'm not going to ride along. That just sounds dangerous. Let's see. Jack, good evening from a snowy New Jersey. Thanks for the help. Cars up on the jig now. You're welcome, Jack. And Jack is working on his fastback and had some questions that we talked about. Let's try to help resolve it. Rick Ain, it sucks trying to get a snowblower running when it's only 14 degrees out. Frozen fingers won't work for things like that. No. And that is no fun. I don't miss any of that at all. Travis, Barry, did you find some seats? I have not. I mean, I have some seats that I'm interested in, that I'm, for the Falcon Light, right? And I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. For one, even if I get them, I don't have a place to put them. But the other side of that is, I was debating on trying to see if they would help with the Mustang mock-up. Because we haven't committed to seats or interior on that because it's not time yet. It's not time to get into that. So I'm in no hurry to get the seats because if I did, I'd have to put them somewhere. And then they might be sitting for a long period of time and cause problems. So I'm not going to get too worried about it at this point. Hey, Matco Man. Hello, everyone. 8 inches of snow, tons of sleet here in Maryland. No work, 2 days working on the fastback. Well, at least you're getting something done. That's a good one. Get that moving. Terry says, what is the width of that trans mount, Barry? It looks like it would work on the 46 Ford frame with the AOD trans. Actually, I am going to, I looked it up on eBay. I still have this open. If you want, I can send you the eBay link if you want, but they have a drawing on here, and outside to outside dimensions because the ends are slotted, so you can move the brackets in and out slightly. It says 27 to 27 and a half inches is the range. That's what the brackets will do for you. So that's on the eBay site. So 27 to 27 and a half. Let me pull that down real quick. And I have not measured this, but that's the play. Now, I feel like there's more than 27. There's more than, that's like 1.25 inches play there. So that number may be off slightly. But since you're asking, and I got a tape measure, I'll do a quick measurement. So this is showing on the tight side about 26.25. Yeah, about 26.25 on the tight side. And on the wide, it is showing about 28. So 26 and a quarter narrow to 28 is what I'm reading. And that's just a quick ballpark measurement. That's a good question, though. That was Terry. Okay. Pat Attic. Good evening from the balmy tropic of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Yeah. Steve Reese is like the motor you put. You. What? Like the motor you put you down. I'm guessing you're talking about the mock up engine. Yeah. I hope so. Art, fiberglass. Hope everyone has antifreeze. Yes, antifreeze. Let's hope so. Um, that was one of the concerns I had, like with the RV. You know, I I can't do much at this point. I've put some stuff in there and cycled it, but hopefully it doesn't cause any problems. But you're right. Hope everybody has good antifreeze. Mr. Mikey, doggone it's cold. Glad to see y'all. Glad you're here, Mr. Mikey. David says, yes, supposed to get to -5 tonight up in Virginia. Woo! You can have it. Travis says, yes, rainbow of colors, purple Mustang, only available in the West Coast. Bought it from original owner. The car has been sitting for 40 years. That is cool. I will say that is cool. And I know you're going to look forward to getting it together. Okay, so looks like you sent me a picture. And it's kind of hard to, let me, hold on. I don't know if you want me to put that up there or not, but I can. But it's kind of hard to see, tell much from that particular picture. But that's cool. Purple. Yep. That is cool. Looking forward to that coming together. Jerry, howdy Barry, howdy y'all from a cold Little Rock. I think it is becoming my new home as I've been stuck here since Saturday and entirely possible I don't make it home until Wednesday. Oh, that's not good, Jerry. You can leave Robert home alone on his own. That's scary. Stay safe. Stay warm. And she says, have a good chat. Thank you, Jerry. Trevor says, the car is along the same road that my parents took me camping, so I've seen this Mustang probably 300 times since I was 16 years old. Every time I drove by it, I mentioned to myself that I wish someone would buy it and fix it up. This year, my family went camping, and the car had a for sale sign on it. My wife said, you better go see how much. Right then, I knew it was mine. Must be fate. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, those rainbow of colors cars, I've thought about, because the 68 that I have, when I bought it, somebody had commented that they asked me if it was a rainbow of colors car because of that color right there. And I did the research on it, and there was nothing I could find that said it was a rainbow of colors car. In fact, the paint code on that car is actually Acapulco blue. But that did cross my mind to just turn it into a rainbow of colors car. I thought that would be kind of cool, but I probably won't. Okay. And Trevor says the owner put the for sale sign on it 2 days before. That's cool. It really is. And you're looking for something like that. Well, you've seen it all this time, and then it becomes available. Yeah. That was meant to happen. Let me pull this picture up. And again, this is just it's kind of a, kind of hard to make it out, but you can see it in the center there. Yeah, that's cool, Travis. We definitely need to keep me updated on that one. let's see. Terry says that. Oh, when we were heating the house with kerosene, he says that was back when kerosene was 25 cents a gallon. Yeah, I don't know if it was that cheap, but it was a lot cheaper. Definitely, it's here in Georgia. I think it's like 3.35 or something like that. I remember looking at it the other day. Yep. Thank you, Travis. Got that. Rick says I have a 65 side driver's side and 67 passenger side Mustang seat. Been in the garage loft for 30 years. Roads are looking to see if they're still in good shape. We're like new when parked. Yeah. Somebody might need those. Terry says, thank you kindly. You're welcome, Terry. Robert, I tossed my kerosene heater when it hit $5 a gallon. It's $10 a gallon here now. There are no gas stations that sell it, so it's by the 5-gallon drum. Wow. That's surprising that it's that expensive in Texas. I mean, gas is always cheaper. You would think kerosene would be cheaper too, but it's like 3 something here. So Jerry says Robert will have to come and get her from Little Rock. I don't think he's going to go. And Robert, she was supposed to come home Saturday. She got there Thursday. Yeah, that's not good at all. But at least, being in a hotel where it's warm, it's a lot better than being out on the road somewhere. TJ says, awesome, Travis. Never seen one of the Rainbow Mustangs in person. I don't think I have either. There weren't a lot made, so it is a rare option. Michael Pagliarini, evening all, overtired tonight, lost 20 hours doing snow removal, 14 to 18 inches here and more overnight. Hey. Yeah, I got a friend who's up there he's in Massachusetts. And Massachusetts? Yeah. New England, whatever. It's all the same up there. And he's been posting a lot about his plowing and everybody getting out the snow plows. And, the last few years they haven't had anything from, what he said. They didn't have much of nothing. And now it's getting all kinds of snow, so he's out there running his plow. RC Guy Garage, if you haven't checked him out. You can check him out. RC Guy Garage. And yes, he does a lot with RC cars. But he also does some stuff with his truck and different things, but most everything is RC stuff. Jerry says, yeah, it's a very nice hotel downtown. They have been really good. Yeah, it's hard to complain about being in a hotel, and working for the airlines. They're not going to put you in Motel 6. They're going to put you somewhere nice. So you have that advantage, and I'm sure they've probably given you some allowances for food and all that stuff. So, yeah, take it like a little vacation. Pat, kerosene, $6 a gallon here at Sheets in Duncannon. It's the only place I can find clear kerosene is getting scrapped, or kerosene is getting scrapped. Oh, you're going to get rid of it. Okay. Yeah, because there's a handful of gas stations that sell it here. And I don't look at it as a primary, heating source. It's just, to me, it's emergency or backup. I'm trying to see, just out of curiosity, so there's a Chevron not far from me. It's $2.76 a gallon at that Chevron. And I've seen it other places, like $3. So for that price, it's worth it to keep as a backup. Because what else are you going to use? Like if we lose power in the house, we don't have anything else to, Now I could hook up the generator to power the gas furnace and get heat going. but I could just fire up that Kerosene heater and just set it in the kitchen, and it'll push out heat all in the living area of the house. So again, it's a backup. It is not a primary heat source. But $6 a gallon, that's kind of hard to deal with. Richard, is the weather in Georgia like this every year? No, it's not. It's definitely not. We did have, I think I had a Facebook memory or something pop up, and I think we had some snow around this time last year, but it's usually like one day. It'll be maybe 2 days. It'll be cold, and then it gets kind of back up into the 30s and 40s, and then it just continues to go up from there. This is definitely the coldest time of the year for us. Like we were out in over Christmas and Thanksgiving, I was outside in a t-shirt, enjoying the weather. All through, even up to New Year's, I think. It was close to that. Really nice weather. And then, this oddball cold front came through and knocked it out. So it's definitely not normal for us to have this kind of weather. Good evening, Barry. Kevin Barth here in Dallas Metro at 24 degrees high today and a low of 11 degrees. You can have that. Yeah. Welcome, Gig'em Garage, but yeah, no thanks. George Burns, 14 months into my 66 Mustang restoration, painted, sanded, and buffed. I'm wiring it now. No wiring harness kit, wire crimpers, and connectors, doing it the hard way. Well, that's good progress. Yeah. And I don't know how much would needed to be done to the car, so I'm going to say it's good progress. If you had to replace panels or anything like that, that's really, really good. But good. That's good to hear. Troy says this weather is not normal for Georgia. That's why I stayed here when I retired from the Army. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to live in the cold. I don't want to live up in, I love Pennsylvania. I love the countryside. I love the land. Let's put it that way. But I wouldn't want to live up there in the wintertime. No. I'll stay here in the South. And, it's funny, I've got friends who are born and raised here in the South. And they'll say, oh, I love it when it gets cold. And I'm like, no. You love it, the idea of when it gets cold. Like, they just say, well, you can put more clothes on and go outside. And I'm like, no, I'm not, I don't want to do that. I'd rather be in the summer where I could take more clothes off and go swimming and enjoy the sun and have the garage doors open and have a nice breeze blowing through the shop. That's what I like. Cold? No thanks. I'd rather go crawl off in a cave somewhere than deal with cold. Dave Tyson, use kerosene in my fish. Wait, what? In my fish? Fish, maybe Fish Shack. I'm going to go with Fish Shack, not Fish Back. I'm going to guess Fish Shack in the 80s, $1 a gallon. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great heater. It serves its purpose. Steve Reed, $2.60 a gallon in Paducah, Kentucky. Thanks, Steve. I needed to say Paducah. Rick Stevenson, hot is uncomfortable, cold hurts. That is a valid, yes. Yes, that is valid. I agree. I can, you get hot, turn a fan on, at least some air movement, you can deal with it. It's not the end of the day, end of your life. You get cold, eventually you get cold enough, you quit working. Your body shuts down. It says, I quit. Let's go to sleep. Never wake up again. No thanks. And Dave Tyson says, yes. Okay, Fish Shack. Not the Love Shack. The Fish Shack. Richard, I bought a diesel heater. It works pretty good and burns clean. Yeah. Well, I mean, kerosene and diesel are really close cousins. Really, really close cousins. You know, it's like the old, what was it? The 5 ton, the 5 ton trucks in the army. They would run on like anything. I think they had those trucks. They would run on kerosene, diesel, gasoline, whiskey, whatever you could pour into the tank. It would run on. I forget what they called that. Bump bills like a multi-fuel system, and kerosene and diesel are so close, almost the same. Robert spends July through summer in Texas, and you will think differently of summer. Well, it's a matter of where you're at. Yes, I agree. I agree, but I would still take the heat. You know, over the cold. I'm 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 a warm-blooded person. I don't even normally in the summer. I don't even like to turn the AC on in my car. I don't. I'd rather open up a window and have some air blowing through. Fine with me. I don't. I don't. I don't. George Burns, I've owned the car since it was new. Stripped it to bare metal, top and bottom, new floor pans, and new cowl. The cowl replacement was the single hardest item so far. Okay, well, that's awesome. You've owned it since new? You really are George Burns. That is awesome. I can't even do the math on that, but that's uh, if you've owned it since '66, yeah, that's incredible. Awesome, really is. Kevin, I grew up in South Texas where the high today was 52. Dallas gets this cold usually only 2 weeks a year in late January, early February. Yeah. Rick Stevenson, I have found that Jet A and JP5 work great in kerosene and diesel heaters. There you go. Robert, if you know someone that works on aircraft at small airports, see if they can get the jet fuel they can't put back in planes as it works great in kerosene heaters. Hmm. That would be, yeah. I'd have to find an airport nearby that would have jet service. And I don't know of any other than Atlanta Airport, and that's not going to be an option. Um, hmm. Yeah, it might be harder to find than I would think. Yeah, not a bad idea though. That's a great idea. Okay, so as I was saying earlier in the episode, I'm working on getting some things in place on the 68 Fastback, and still going through the process of this cross member and trying to figure out if I'm going to use it directly or use part of the TCI system to create my own version of transmission support. So what I want to do, or what I will do, is, as I said previously, take this mock-up engine and transmission out, get the other one on hoist, try to get them down into the engine bay, and start tweaking from there. The other thing I'll have to consider is, that engine and transmission is pretty heavy. So when I put it in place, I'll probably have to come up with a bridge, some sort of a bridge system to support the transmission from inside the car. Because once I put it in, it's going to have to go back up on the lift. And I can't just put a block of wood under there, and I don't want the engine dipping down and putting stress loads on the engine mounts and that sort of thing. So I'll probably come up with some sort of a bridge system to hold the tranny up, so when it goes back in place, it's at the right angle and everything like that. So that'll be coming up in a future episode. Oh, Rick Stevenson says discarded fuel samples. Yeah, that would be, if you can get them. TJ Barry, I'm with you. We hate the cold. We we gotten soft in our old age. No. Um, like I said, you adapt to where you're at for the most part. I mean, obviously you have in Texas higher temperatures than you have here. You have in the hundreds in the summer. Here in Georgia, we get 90, 95, which is very, very good as far as I'm concerned. But you would kind of adapt to that. And I've talked about this before. I'm going to throw out a NASCAR story about Davey Allison. And there was events, Davey Allison was known for being very durable in racing. And so I read a story about him one time. He had gone to, I don't know if it was Talladega, whatever track it was. It was middle of summer. It was hot. He went out there, and I don't know if he finished or got in the top five. I don't remember exactly. But when the race was over, he just like jumped out of the car like nothing. And that was back in the 80s when it was hot and they had no cooling systems. They had, the drivers today are soft with all their accessories and cool suits and all that stuff. I'm joking, but anyway. So back then they didn't have that stuff. So Davey Allison or Bobby Allison, what he would do, he lived in Alabama. He would drive around everywhere he went in his sedan car, regular family car, and he'd crank the heat up in the summer. Everywhere he went, he had the heat on, baking himself in that car. And what it did is he adapted to those high temperatures. And so when he was out in a race car, he felt like he had air conditioning. He felt like he was cool. And it's a fact. We do get soft in a sense with the creature comforts. Growing up in Pennsylvania, we didn't have air conditioning. We didn't have great heaters. So you adapted. Your body just kind of gets in tune with it. Now, again, the extremes are what we can't adapt to because we're not built for that. But the average stuff is good. So I hope we're not getting too soft, though. Michael, can't get kerosene at a gas station here anymore. You have to get it at Lowe's or Walmart or Tractor Supply, $10 a gallon. I use it to heat my garage. Ooh, that's not cheap. See, what you need to do is come down to Georgia with 55-gallon drums and fill up at $2.65 a gallon or $2.75 a gallon. Probably be cheaper. Take it back with you because that stuff will sit. It doesn't need to be, it can just sit in cans for a long, long, long time. Cola's Chris, negative 35 for a low the other morning, warmed up to negative 11 for a high in northern Wisconsin. My 79 F-150 plow truck starts right up parked outside. Well, that's awesome. Travis, can't you turn the mount around so the sticks point to the front? No. The reason for that is the geometry of the build. So I tried that. I mean, that was my first thought. Was, hey, I could just turn it around, 180. Won't work. The way this is designed, and it's kind of hard to show you in the imagery here, this has a flow to it. You can see there how it arcs back. And basically, let's say you bolt that in, now you've got these pushing back this direction. So when you turn it around, that actually interferes with the transmission. It puts it in a bad spot. It because of the limitations on the floor support, fore and aft, I can't go back far enough if I turn it around, I can't go back far enough for it to clear because the ends hit the TCI setup. So yeah, I did definitely consider that, but it's not gonna, it just won't work. Troy, I haven't heard you talk about the hood for the 68. Is the stock one going on or an aftermarket one? Fiberglass ones are a pain to get to fit. Just ask Robert. Yeah. As far as I know, we're going to go with the stock hood with the with the signal lights in it. That's as far as I know. Rick Ain, do the redneck way, ratchet strap the transmission to the roll bar. You know, that's actually not a bad idea. I wouldn't call that redneck necessarily, but the problem with that, yeah, the roll bar is so far back that would put that strap at a steep angle. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. That's not a bad idea though. Robert, yeah, fiber isn't as good for you as they say. No. Richard, will you be fabricating a transmission tunnel for Fangled? Yes. I'll be using the original one as a reference or as part of it. And I may just have to add pieces to it to make it sit up and, make room. That's what Bad Harry did with his. He just added some pieces to it. And that's not a big deal. Jerry says the hood looks good, but is a disappointment. Yeah. 427 Mustang, we have fascism to keep us warm on the left coast. Oh, okay. Welcome, sir. Let me skip over that. Terry Keith says, who makes that? Makes the kit? It's made by Stiflers. So there's the company, Stiflers, and there's the part number, TCB, I think it is. Yeah, TCB dash 6R80K2. Now they make other kits, so you might actually have what you're looking for. This is just for, as it says here, 65 to 70 Mustang. So they may have different ones for what you're doing, Terry. So just look up Stiflers and see if that gives you what you're looking for. Okay, we're getting close to quitting time. Yeah, we're at about an hour, and I'm pretty much talked out. My voice is starting to I can feel it starting to go. So it's been good. We've had some good conversation and good things to talk about. I know it's cold, and we want to avoid, suffering. So by all means, stay warm, keep yourself safe, and keep working on these projects. I hope to have another video coming out for the Fangled Fastback project. Also, I didn't realize till today, somebody was asking me about the headliner video or videos that I made on Jade. And I didn't realize I know I made 3 videos, but together they're only about an hour long. So I'm really thinking I might re-edit those 3 videos into one video and repost it, because nobody likes to see, I don't think I like to see stacked up videos, or go to multiple ones to get all the answers. So I may end up, just because of the way the weather is right now, I may re-edit that particular set of videos into one and repost it. So anyway, that'll be it for tonight's show. Again, stay safe out there and stay warm. Until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.